everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are a returning subscriber, hey, welcome back. Thanks for being a part of the family. And if you are new, make sure you subscribe. And guys, please don't forget to follow, to like, and to share to help me grow the platform and get the information out to those who can use it. Okay, and also make sure to turn on the notification as well, right? So you don't miss the videos when I release them. Okay, so with that being said, let's get into it. So for the month of February, I'm going to do a family law series, and we're going to discuss different issues that could come up in family law. Pre-marriage, during marriage, and post-marriage, right? And so stay tuned. We will be covering, I will be covering all of those issues. And I will try to spice it up a bit, I will try to get some colleagues to join in with us. So with that being said, let's get into it. So this video is going to be about prenuptial agreements, which is commonly referred to as prenup. Now, a news recently broke, today, that Rihanna is pregnant. And she is pregnant by her longtime boyfriend, I think of 3 years or something like that, A$AP Rocky, or something like that. I think that's how you say his name. Listen, I don't keep up with celeb stuff, so bear with me. So a lot of people are kind of, they have questions. They want to know, well, why is she having a baby and she's not married? And why is she getting married? And, and a lot of people, and some people, I guess, think that he's just not the best fit for her. It's none of my business. I don't know these people. I don't care. But anyways, I wanted to talk about prenuptial agreement, right? And I'm not sure why Rihanna decided to have a baby before she got married, or if she's planning to get married or ever wants to get married. But I suspect probably part of the reason, I would assume, is because she doesn't really need marriage, right? Marriage is, I think people forget that marriage is a social contract. It's a legal contract between couples. And so it's not really for everyone, and not everyone needs it. We also have to understand the context of marriage too. Marriage was sort of, or is still used really, as a way to secure, as a means of security, a lot of times for the women, right? Because especially if you're going to have kids and you're going to forego your career or stuff like that, you want to kind of have some level of security for the sake of you and your future children. And then there's also the religious aspect of it. People get married just because it's what's expected. They get married because it's what the community or culture expects. And so we have today in 2022, we have different forms of family, different types of family, nuclear family, primary family. And this is not necessarily a new thing. It's always been around, but it's becoming more acceptable to not have the primary family where you have a mom and a dad and children, right? Nowadays we have 2 mom homes, 2 dad homes. We have 2 mom, 1 dad home. So we have different type of family settings and family dynamic now, and this is people's right to choose this type of family structure for themselves, and we have no right to judge. So with that being said, let's get into the post-nuptial conversation. Now, first of all, what is a post-nup? Not a post-nup, a prenup. I will make a video about post-nup later. But what is actually, I think now that I brought it up, I should just be very clear that a post-nup and a prenup is essentially, in substance, the same thing. The only difference is when they're signed or entered into. Prenup is before the marriage. Post-nup is after the marriage. Like maybe you didn't get a chance to sign a prenup before the marriage, and so you finally executed one after the marriage. But essentially, they're the same thing. So what is a prenup? A prenup is a contract that you and your future spouse, your future partner, enter into before getting legally married. A prenup basically lays out the rights and responsibilities of your spouse and yourself during the marriage. It also lays out what happens in the event of a divorce or in the event of death. A lot of times people hear prenup and they just think divorce, but actually a prenup is also can be a safety net in the event that your spouse dies as well. So, why do you need a prenup? You know, of course, the states usually have laws governing divorce, laws governing separation, laws governing death, and all that stuff. Why do you need a prenup? Well, a prenup gives you the autonomy and the control over how you want to divide your asset and your property, and what you want to happen in the event of your death or the death of your spouse, or what you want to happen in the event of a divorce. And so it basically gives you the ability to negotiate with your partner the expectations of during the marriage and after the marriage. So what goes into a prenup? What are the basics things that goes into a prenup? It's important to understand that you have to have full and fair financial disclosure, right? Full and fair financial disclosure when you start the process of negotiating a prenup. So that's first and foremost. The second thing is the things that go into the prenup. You get to define what you want to be deemed marital property and what you want to keep separate. So basically, you get to say, okay, in the event of a divorce, this over here, this is going to be considered separate property, so it's not subject to equitable distribution, which I will talk about in another video. And this is, I'll make this marital property so we can share and divide this in the event we get divorced. You can also determine, okay, if I die, this is going to be separate property and will be passed down to my children that I had before the marriage or whatever. And this will be this will pass down to my spouse, etc. Stuff like that. So in a prenup, you have complete autonomy and control over how you want to divide your asset and your property between you and your spouse. You also, like I said before, you can decide how the children that you have before from a prior relationship, how they're provided for and taken care of in the event of a divorce or in the event of your death. You can also do that in a will as well, but obviously spouse can challenge wills, and so this is why it's important to make sure, if you do have children from prior relationship, to make sure you have a clause that kind of protects them in the event you get divorced or die before your partner. What other things go into a prenup? This is the main one that everybody automatically think about when they think prenup, right? Maintenance and spousal support. Yes, in a prenup, you also decide whether or not there's going to be spousal or maintenance in the event of a divorce. And you can decide what that will look like. So that's also another important reason, especially if you're someone who is coming into the marriage with a lot of asset that you had and spent years developing and gaining before you met your partner. You might want to consider protecting that. People have different intentions when they enter marriages, so it's just important to just to protect yourself. And a lot of times what you'll find is that if someone is in it for the right reason, they usually won't have an issue with negotiating terms and with signing a prenup. The other thing that you can put in a prenup is premarital liabilities and premarital debt. Maybe student loans, maybe you went to law school and have a lot of student loans. You can decide that you want to make that a separate liability that you are entirely responsible for. You're entirely responsible for, and your spouse has nothing to do with that. or you can decide to be generous and split it. I don't know. I guess people do that. But the point is that it is a contract. And because it's a contract, as long as there's meeting of the minds and the two people could come together and decide what they want, you have complete and total control, so long as it's not against public policy. And so a thing that cannot go into a postnup is child custody and child support issues for children that are not yet in existence. So for your unborn children, you can't really, I talked about one of the reasons it might be beneficial for women to get married, right? It's for security, especially if they're going to forego or give up careers to go and have and raise children. But unfortunately, you cannot put, well, maybe it's not unfortunate, I don't know, but it's maybe, yeah, you can put matters regarding custody, visitation, and child support in a prenuptial agreement regarding children that are not yet in this world. So you can't talk about those things in a prenuptial agreement. Primarily because it's just it's against public policy and issues regarding children. Ultimately, the court has to make a determination about what is in the best interest of the child. So that's another, I'm going to talk about that in another video regarding visitation, custody, and stuff like that later on. But just be mindful that when you are doing or when you want to do a prenuptial agreement, you cannot have issues regarding custody, visitation, or child support for children not yet born. You might be able to have issue if you already have kids, right? You could put something in there regarding the children that are existing. But that clause, any clause that addresses child custody, is not necessarily full bulletproof or foolproof, right? It can be challenged in court. It could be not enforced in court. So just keep that in mind. And this is why it's really important to have separate attorneys when you're negotiating prenuptial agreements. Because if you have the same attorney preparing this contract, the court is going to, there's a higher chance of it not being upheld in court due to some impropriety or issue with fairness. So it's important to have separate attorneys when negotiating the terms of your prenuptial agreement. So, like I said before, postnuptial agreements, essentially the same thing in sum and substance. The only difference is when it was executed. Prenup is executed before the marriage, before you get legally married. Postnup is executed after you've been legally married. And a lot of times, like I said, what usually happens in a postnup is maybe you thought about a prenup, but you weren't on the same page with regarding one, and then eventually you said, yeah, maybe it's a good idea, and so you decide to enter one. That's going to be, but you've already been married at this point, so that's going to be a postnup. So now that you know, so just to talk a little bit about the Rihanna situation, I think that it could be a smart move on her part as to why she decided to not get married just yet. She could have entered a prenuptial agreement, but again, prenuptial agreement is not always the best for some people, and some people just prefer not to get married at all, right? So it's up to you. It's your choice, but the point is that you have a choice, and that's really important. So if you're getting married and want to have a prenup drafted or prepared, or one to review, looking for an attorney to either prepare a prenup for you or to help you, to represent you, to help you review and renegotiate terms of a prenup that's been presented to you, feel free to give my office a call, set up a consultation. My number is 718-879-3265. That number again, 718-879-3265. And if you're already married and you and your partner have been thinking about, entering a contract, you can give me a call. We handle those as well. Like I said, those are considered postnuptial agreements. I also handle separation agreements. I will create a whole different video for that. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned something today. And until next time, bye.